Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and today I have the rare privilege of taking a look at an HS product VHS-2F rifle. Now the VHS has gone through a couple iterations. This was designed, of course, by HS Product in Croatia. The company is probably best known, especially in the United States, for manufacturing the HS-2000 pistol, which is known in the US as the Springfield XD series. Croatia is not necessarily a country you would immediately think of as being top of the line for arms manufacturing, but HS Product, I gotta say, has done a pretty sweet job on this rifle. So the VHS, this is VHS-2, I should say, which is predominantly distinctive for having a Picatinny top rail. The early versions had iron sights. They actually look quite a bit like the FAMAS, which is a very nice transition to mentioning the fact that the VHS, or the VHS-2, was submitted to French military trials, the trials that would replace the FAMAS and ultimately choose the HK416 as the new French service rifle. Well, this is actually a VHS-2F, which is this is one of the rifles that was in the French military trials. So I figured what better to do than take it apart and show you guys how it works. So let's dig right in. Okay, so let's start with some of the basic controls. From the back, this is an interchangeable butt pad, so I can just pop it off like that. The French Army wanted a convex butt pad, and you'll see that on the 416s that they ended up buying. But you could also get this with a flat or concave butt pad. Snap that back on there. And interestingly, the VHS actually has an adjustable buttstock. So the length of pull is kind of long no matter what, but you can, in fact, lengthen or shorten the rifle. We have completely ambidextrous controls, which I really like as a left-hander. So the charging handle up here flips out to one side or the other. It is a non-reciprocating charging handle. We have a selector lever here that is safe, semi-auto, full auto, and that selector lever is duplicated on both sides. And then we actually have ejection ports on both sides of the gun. And this one is currently set up to be left-handed, which is cool. The magazine release is this pad right here, and the bolt release when the bolt's locked open, because of course it locks open when empty, is right here. So you may notice that the magazine well here looks a little bit replaceable. That's because this is, in fact, an interchangeable magazine well design. And this is the STANAG, the AR-15 pattern magazine well. So it will take standard AR mags, like so. What's interesting to me is they've set up a sort of a cantilevered lever. So when I push this in, it's actually pushing the AR-15 magazine catch out. On the other patterns of magazine, even though the magazines lock in differently, they've maintained the exact same style of control. So easier to just show you, this is the Croatian Army pattern, which instead of AR mags uses a proprietary translucent, kind of a G36-like magazine. This magazine actually locks on the back of the magazine spine, so that it is a straight-in magazine, but you'll see that the magazine catch operates differently. This one goes straight in, this one levers out to the side. What's really cool is for the French military trials, there was actually, HS Product came up with a magazine well insert that used FAMAS mags. So had the French Army decided to use these, they had the option of continuing to use their existing stockpile of FAMAS mags. We have a number of features out here at the muzzle, flash hider, birdcage style, pretty simple. There is also a rifle grenade rear support here, so that these are capable of firing rifle grenades. And there is a bayonet lug right down there, so it'll also take a bayonet. The rifle is set up with a very long Picatinny rail along the carry handle / charging handle cover up there. And the built-in sights are flip up, flip down style. So if you're using some sort of optic, you can just flip the sights out of the way. They're not plastic. They're actually a pretty solid metal part. The rail up here is metal, and it's a metal sight that is locked into a metal component. The polymer frame is down here below and doesn't actually interact with the sights. The sight picture is a little difficult to see here, but it is a set of aperture sights we have 0 setting right there, which is a very large aperture. And then we have, oops, if I rotate it the right direction, 1 to 200, which is a much smaller aperture. There you go. And then this continues with a 3, a 400, and a 500. The front sight is a fully hooded, just post sight. It is also elevation adjustable. Flips up like so. So you actually get really quite a nice sight picture with the irons on the rifle. We also have sling attachment points. Again, ambidextrous, mirrored, like everything on this rifle is mirrored left to right. And I should point out we have a few markings. VHS caliber 5.56, made by HS Product. And there is our model designation, the VHS F2 caliber and serial number. Now the design can be swapped for left or right hand ejection. We do have dust covers on both sides. However, you can shoot it from either shoulder, ejecting on either side. There's a cheek plate here with an ejection buffer or a deflector. And as long as you keep your face behind this, which isn't difficult to do, you're not going to eat the brass. Now, disassembly begins by taking this off, and it's just snapped on. So we can lift that off. And then we have a part right here. This isn't actually part of disassembly, but it's neat to show you. That is an ejection port lock. So you pick whichever side you're going to be ejecting from, and you lock the other one in place with this pin. There we go. Now, the real disassembly is all done with push pins, so we can push that one out. With the pin out, we can then rotate this down and take it off. There's a little hook to hold it in place. That gives us our recoil spring right here. Once that is out, we can then pop the bolt assembly out the back. And we can also take the handguard off, push that pin out. And the handguard is going to slide forward and off the gun. I note this as being relevant because HS Product also makes a standalone 40mm grenade launcher. And you can actually take the grenade launcher, use the exact same sort of push pin system, pop the launcher itself off of its stock assembly. And this has exactly the same mounting points to allow it to mount onto the front of the rifle. So that's pretty convenient. This, by the way, is a side opening launcher. So we have a latch there that opens it out to the side. Put your grenade in, lock it. There we go, back in place. It's got its own safety. And this whole ring is the trigger, firing like that. Oh, and sights mounted on the side. We can also take off the entire rail assembly. We have a button here, and once again, co-located on both sides. So if I push that in and then lift up, this guy comes off. So that's got the charging handle assembly in it, as well as the rail and the sights. This is a short stroke gas piston. I misspoke earlier, sorry about that. And the piston itself is right here. I can take this out by pushing this in, rotating it like so. So that's the return spring. This is 2 pieces. So there's only one gas port in it, by the way. It is the gas block has 2 settings, shooting and not shooting for using rifle grenades. And yeah, that's the short stroke piston. This is going to push on the op rod that is connected to the bolt carrier. And then one last bit of disassembly, I can take the fire control group out by pushing in on that. There's a little button down there, and then can there we go. We have a nice self-contained fire control group, very much like a Steyr AUG, although it's made out of metal, or like a FAMAS. And like the Bullpup FAMAS, it's located here in the very back of the assembly. So, all right, it's a little difficult to see, but right above my finger there is a flat metal bar, which is moving. That is the trigger bar coming back from the actual pistol grip. And that actually pushes on this little pin in the side. All right, so we've got our safety sear that gets pushed forward, and then pushing that back releases the hammer, like so. One last bit of disassembly here. We have the bolt carrier assembly. We can push this cross pin out. That releases the firing pin and its return spring. Next, we have the cam pin in here, and what we're going to do is actually use the firing pin to punch that out from the bottom. There we go. Notice on this, where a normal cam pin obviously is straight, this one is canted, and that's because in order to switch the gun from left to right, you can put this cam pin in either this direction or this direction. Note that our bolt face has a plunger ejector and an extractor up here, and this configuration will eject that way. And if I just rotate it around, this configuration will eject that way. And if we look down at the top, you can see the cam pin hole right here. That's one configuration, and that is the other configuration. So that's what you do to reset this between left and right. You disassemble the bolt carrier to this point, swap the bolt face to whichever direction you want, and then pin the ejection port so that the side that you want to remain closed remains closed. And that's it. It's actually an easier system to swap left to right than a FAMAS, and certainly easier than other bullpups like the AUG or the Tavor that require completely different receiver units to eject out the left side. So the rest of the bolt is pretty standard for a AR-18 family bolt, multiple locking lugs, basic stem back there. HS Product makes two different lengths of this. The French trials version got the long barrel, which is generally by HS Product called the VHS-2D. And there is also the short version with a 16-inch barrel instead of 19 that is the VHS-2K. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I've been wanting to get a look at one of these for quite some time now, and this one very fortuitously became available. So we are also going to do some shooting with it. Some of you may have noticed that this behind me is the sound-absorbing sidewall of an indoor shooting range. So stick around tomorrow when we'll load this up and do some shooting and see how it actually handles. Thanks for watching.